CT, Danny Liff, and Julisi boy. We up right now, locking up your Saturday. Tell your book you send my payment. Lot of opinions, but we only care about one statement. It's Boston Eddie Cappers, yeah. 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 Boston Eddie Cappers.
Welcome in to the I guess it's the Tuesday opener, week 4 college football, week 3 NFL of the Boston Handicappers Network live show. I'm Dan Lifshatz, your host here with CT Bets, Chris Thurston, our guest this week, Julian Edlow of DK Network. CT, what's going on?
Hi, I'm here. Ready?
Yeah, you are here. You are here. All right. And we also have Jules of DK Network. Jules, what's going on?
Yeah, we're licking our wounds here from as brutal as it gets, college football Saturday.
Yeah. So obviously a very, very bad Saturday. Before we get into that, though, would like to point out this Tuesday opener, the Boston Handicappers Network, is brought to you by Viva Tequila Seltzer. With only 88 calories and a 4.5% ABV, Viva Tequila Seltzer is the most refreshing seltzer out there. Clean, light, and dangerously drinkable. Made with real tequila and bold flavors like huckleberry and grapefruit, Viva pairs perfectly with a winning ticket and some football. And right now, next Saturday, I guess this Saturday, September 20th, we will be at Stats in South Boston for a live show starting at 11 a.m. Sammy P will be joining us as well from the Chicken Dinner Network, Chicken Dinner Podcast, as well as MGN Network, a whole bunch of stuff. Everyone knows Sammy P, so will be joining us there. Come drink Vivas, come watch football. We'll be there hanging out, hopefully having a nice rebound of a Saturday, because God knows Saturday, I think that is the worst college football week we probably have ever had, guys. It's very possible. Let's get into that recap quickly. College football, we'll recap it again on the podcast tomorrow, but college football last week, 3-8 minus 10.11 units. I can tell you it is my worst college football week I've had in the past 5 years. Was mine as well. Yeah, not fun. Clemson, bad. Georgia, I guess we gave it out 3.5. It was 3. Almost all of our equity was in 3, but nonetheless, we gave it out 3.5, so we lose that one as well. I
had plenty of 3.5. Don't worry.
Oh, okay. I actually had some worse numbers than you, Jules, if it makes you feel any better. So
true.
I
had some 4.
There, yeah. I had some 6. So there you go. If it makes you feel any better. All right, and the NFL. We did do much better, 9-5 plus 5.98 units. So not a good week for us. Still down around 4-ish units, 4.5 units, whatever. Not the worst week ever, though. Could have been a lot worse. It would have been a hell of a lot better had Houston won last night. Probably would have been pretty, not close to even, but relatively in that area. But nonetheless, guys, we're moving on to this week, and it's fine. We will certainly figure it out and certainly move along. We had a phenomenal college football season last year. I'm sure we'll get the train right on the tracks, and looking at the analytics, because you can break down the analytics in the old tracker app, which is nice and fun. Again, you can find all of our picks tracked at BetStamp, BetStamp app. The BetStamp app, basically the analytics, NFL has gone very well so far for us. So no college football, not so much. Hopefully that turns around Saturday. Before we get into the college football slate, guys, CT.
This Tuesday opener of the Boston Handicappers Network podcast is brought to you by Bet105.ag. With the most competitive odds in the business, go check out Bet105.ag. Be on the lookout for the Boston Handicappers best bet on the site, where Bet105 will be boosting odds on our favorite play each week and every week. Last week, the Bet105 team boosted the Seahawks to plus 110, the best price in the industry, one of the games that I actually did win. Bet105.ag, where the pros play.
There you go. So let's get into a couple of games here, fellas. We'll start off with college football and work our way over to the NFL. We'll start off with the one that I think we all have some sort of vested interest in, whether future or this week. 307-308, Iowa and Rutgers opens for I think that should say 3. I think I fat fingered that one.
Yeah,
I think
it was
that
three.
should say.
It
I think
was
that should
3.
say. Okay, I think I fat fingered it. But yeah, you see, opens 3, total moves a little bit. I do know that there was a sharp move on Rutgers earlier this afternoon, so that number might be down to 2.5 some places. I think Circa's sitting 2.5. Yeah, so that number is actually now 2.5, and 45.5 is the total. CT, I'll start with you. Any thoughts on this game, being our resident Iowa expert?
Yeah, I got some pretty good info on it. Rutgers, they had a close one, right? Week 1, snuck out a 3-point win over Ohio, but they gave up 31 to them. I think the Rutgers D has been pretty brutal this year, particularly in the back end of that. Linebackers giving up some big chunk plays there. That's actually killing them. Offense has been mediocre up and down. Kaliakmanis who actually started his career over in Minnesota, I believe. He's experienced. Yep. They have a pretty good running back room, but they're a little dinged up at that position, and a lot of injuries on the offensive line. I think Iowa's front, should be able to hold that run game up there. Their best wideout, Ian Strong. He got hurt against Miami, Ohio. Didn't suit up last week and play versus Norfolk. On the other side, we got Iowa gets Kirk the win last week. He becomes the winningest coach in Big Ten history. Tip of the cap to my guy KF Hawkeyes. They have an even deeper running back room, as we all know. They get Moulton back this week, which is a huge shot in the arm. Iowa, they've won all 4 games, guys, in this series since Rutgers joined the Big Ten. And in those 4, Rutgers has scored 17 points, and they've been shut out twice. So in order for Rutgers to win this game, they're going to need to put up a lot of points. I just don't see that happening versus Phil Parker's bunch, and I get it. Iowa, it's on the road. It's a Friday night game. But my only play here would be Iowa. And I might not give any plays out on this show yet. I'm waiting, but that's my info on the Iowa game, and it would be Iowa or pass for me.
Okay, Jules, over to you.
Same boat, Iowa or pass. I don't have nearly as much detail to add as CT does with his knowledge of the program, but from further out, I just don't think the Rutgers defense is good. We've been talking year after year about Iowa improving the quarterback play. And if Gronowski is going to be the guy, like, this is one of the games where you would see it against this Rutgers defense. And I know it's on the road Friday night, the game of the night in college football. So that gives me a little more hesitancy in these type of spots. I tend to lean towards the home dog, which from a betting splits perspective is the sharp side of this game right now. But I think Iowa should be a breakthrough game, at least finally against Power 4 competition where you can start scoring. We haven't seen that spot for them yet. And it's, who cares what they put up against UMass? Well, like, this is the spot where you can finally score on a defense that is somewhat respectable and prove that. So I think Iowa puts up some points here, and the defense going on the road should be good enough to hold up in this spot. I go back to betting Rutgers in a Friday night game last year. I think it was Washington that they hosted coming cross country, and Washington, we know, excellent at home, terrible on the road. Rutgers barely squeaked that one out. They probably shouldn't have even have won. So just remembering that game puts a little less fear in me in this spot. So like CT, we'll see if I do anything about it. Going to be a little more trigger shy this week, given how bad college football has been for 2 of the 3 major weeks, but lean to Iowa.
You can see per Captain Caveman right now, Iowa -2.5 everywhere. There was a very sharp move earlier today from a pretty big group that did have the Rutgers side of this game. Fellas, I'll just go back to this screen here. To me, again, I look at the Rutgers offense, and I think the metrics are just a little bit skewed right now. Again, as you mentioned, I don't really believe Kaliakmanis is. And I know I butchered his name, but whatever. It is really anything to write home about. And I think now in a legitimately elite defense, I think that is going to be tough. I would say the Rutgers defense is borderline bad, and that's where I would probably be interested in the Iowa 2.5. I haven't quite gotten there yet, but certainly Iowa 2.5 would have me a little interested in this game. I don't know if I'm going to end up getting there, but I certainly would be. If I was going to bet the game, it'd probably be Iowa 2.5. At 3, probably wouldn't have anything, but I do think, again, in Piscataway, I think that Rutgers defense generally a little bit overrated. Yeah, that's kind of how I'm feeling right now, fellas. I'm a little bit out on the Rutgers side. Let's move on to 331, 332 Duke and NC State. So this one opened a little bit higher. This one did open for opened 55, got bet up pretty quickly in the total. You can see the large move there up to 59. This one was another one that ended up getting hit earlier today as well. And I actually, again, don't have the current number on me. I have a million screens I'm trying to pull up here, unfortunately. I believe it's 3 minus 115 in most places now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. There's some minus 110s out there, but yeah, consensus probably minus 115.
Okay, my guess is this will continue to move towards the Duke side. That would be my guess on this one. So NC State 3-0. And look, I definitely lean the Duke side. Haven't, not exactly a big bet for me, but I certainly lean that side. It's been a bad defense for Duke so far. The passing defense has been borderline horrendous for them. And that is a bit concerning for me when you're kind of discussing this game. That being said, I think the NC State defense has been arguably as bad against even more inferior opponents. And man, defensively, they are an absolute disaster. I've watched both of their games so far, and they have been the opposite of impressive. Is probably a good way to put it. I think that this is probably a game where I would take Duke. Obviously, did not work out last week in the game against Tulane. They kind of shut the bed in the second half there, and obviously coming off the Illinois game, I think this is a pretty decent get right spot for them. Looking ahead of that back-to-back between Syracuse and Cal coming up, and obviously knowing what Cal is, I think this is probably a very big game for them if they're interested in going bowling this year and being competitive in the ACC. I was very unimpressed by the NC State game against Wake. Again, watch all 3 games. I've not been not been impressed by any of them. I thought they were probably the best in the Virginia game, but honestly didn't feel great about them in that game either. Needed a lot to go right to cover that number. I would probably expect Duke to get ahead and win this one. CT, I'll go over back to you because I know you have some thoughts on this game as well.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head with everything you said. I couldn't agree more. I think this is going to be a game where who could score the most points wins this game here. It's going to be a shootout because both defenses have been pathetic, but you got to think at some point that Manny's going to get it right here and make some adjustments. I think Mensah has been great, Dan. I really think he's been awesome for him. He 3 TDs last week, 315 in the air, a pick. I think he's the right guy that they wanted. I think they're better than their record indicates here. I've been wrong on them a couple times now this week. You got to think that Manny's going to start winning some games. And I think that this is the one where you start, because as good as Bailey's been, it seems like when they score, they just give it right back. They were down 14-0. Last Thursday to Wake right out of the gate. Feel like Duke is a team that, holds on to that lead. Wake Forest is a team that blows that lead. So wasn't too shocked there, but you can punch this NC State team in the mouth and, they can't come back here. It's Duke or pass for me. I'm real close to getting there on Duke.
Jules, anything for you in this one?
Yeah, I'm kicking myself a little bit over going. This was the case for a few games with me last week, going with a side over a total. I went with Duke. I caved and went with Duke when I liked the over, and that game went over. Duke loses by a touchdown. I don't like NC State at all. I'll tell you that. NC State is a team that I have no problem fading, even though they ultimately rallied against Wake. But I don't have as much belief in Duke ultimately as you guys do. And that doesn't mean that this isn't the spot that they finally get it done. It's just I've seen them not get it done now a little too much and give them, well, it was the turnovers. If they don't have the turnovers, it's this, it's that. And these things keep coming up. So I'm not telling you to back NC State. I just don't know if I've seen it from Duke where I can trust them. Not one of my favorite spots on the board this week.
Okay. Let's head over to another game, 359-360, Baylor and Arizona State. This number also needs to be modified because I saw on my way over here, this number had moved as well. This is now sitting Baylor -1.5. So we have seen some, or some two. I think there's two out there as well. But there's been some back and forth move on this one. There was 1.5 earlier this afternoon and it came back to 2, then went back to 2.5. It's been bouncing all over the place. Did open 63.5. So totals come down a little bit. Obviously, sides come down a little bit. Arizona State, obviously, very impressive in their win over Texas State last week, a game that neither CT or I did give out, but ultimately talked about and would have covered all the numbers no matter what. So, I did end up getting playing a little Arizona State. That was nice for me last week. It was one of the few college football winners I did have. But that being said, guys, I think we've all been high on Baylor. We took them. I think, I know I had them week 1 versus Auburn. We definitely took them against SMU. They pulled out the miracle win out of their ass. Do we buy into what this team actually is and the metrics? Because I am still extremely concerned about the defense. And you take a look at what they're doing metrically, guys, and it's about as bad as you've seen. It's not as bad as you've seen, but here's my problem. I'm having a very difficult time watching this Baylor defense tackle and think that they're going to continue to be able to tackle against, an offense like this Arizona State offense with, and, the explosiveness that they're playing with. Jules, I'll go over to you first because I know you had some thoughts on this game. Let's start with you.
Yeah, usually we start with CT on Baylor games, but for some reason I like Baylor more than he does this week. You said Arizona State impressive against Texas State. Yeah, nice bounce back off of the walk-off loss at Mississippi State. You go down 17-0. You come back to take the lead, give it away on a late bomb, and lose the game as a 5.5, 6 point road favorite. That was bet down from a 7 opener. I haven't seen much from Arizona State. I think that they're a little overhyped off of the college football playoff appearance from last season. And, the one time they went on the road, sure, Mississippi State is better than we gave them credit for, or just speaking in general terms, better than they got credit for preseason, and gets that win as a home dog. But Baylor should be a much tougher test, even if the defense is a little bit of an issue. I don't see how Arizona keeps up offensively with what Baylor should be able to do at home Saturday night game. We trusted them against Auburn, but this defense is going to be nothing like Auburn. This running game is going to be nothing like Auburn. I just think Baylor outscores them, and maybe as I'm speaking, that means that the better play is Baylor's team total, which the week that you guys both took Baylor against SMU, I used my play on the podcast as Baylor team total over. They wound up with 48. Obviously, that's fortunate with overtime against SMU. They were held to 24 at home by Auburn's defense in the opener, 42 against Samford last week. Make of that what you will. But Baylor money line and or Baylor team total over 30.5 are going to be plays for me in some form or fashion. I got to figure out how if I'm going to take one, if I'm going to balance them both out. But I like Baylor in this game, and CT can maybe try and play some devil's advocate.
I'm terrified of this game for Baylor. I just don't think that Aranda has made the adjustments that he needs to yet on defense. And until I see it, I very fortunate to get the win 2 weeks ago versus SMU, down 14 with 5.5 to go. Yeah, that takes grit, right? You showed toughness there. They didn't throw the towel in. You're on the road. You have Sawyer Robertson. That's a huge benefit because, man, the kid could absolutely sling the ball. The offense is great. I mean, he's thrown for over 400 in both games before Samford. I can't remember what he put up last week, Dan, for Samford, but I know they scored 45 or 42. versus them. Didn't catch too much of the game, but I feel like this Arizona State team is going to wake up at some point. And I feel as though, they needed that game last week versus Texas State to kind of get right a little bit, right the ship after going down 17-0 to Mississippi State. They're going to come into Waco and play tough. Like, this game doesn't scare Leavitt and Dillingham. I made the game a pick, so I can't get behind Baylor. I hope Jules is right. I can't get there with this team until this defense proves me otherwise and makes some stops against a good team. Then they're on the sidelines for me. So hopefully Baylor gets there. I have over 7.5 wins. You're at home. Slight advantage there being in Waco, but still made this game closer to a pick.
Yeah, I did.
What about the team total then?
What is it?
If all 30.5, if all we keep talking about is how the defense is a problem.
Yeah.
If the defense is the only thing we don't believe in, then that is simply isolating the offense. Take the defense out of the equation.
I mean, they're going to put up points. That's for sure. They have so many wide receivers to choose from. Between Hawkins, Prentice, and throwing Trigg at tight end. Josh Cameron. I mean, he has so many freaking targets. Yeah, I mean, I'd be okay with that, Jules, for you.
So again, here's my concern. Again, just again, looking at what Arizona State has been this year, they've been a run first team. Obviously, I know when you have Jordan Tyson, you're not a run first team always, but the reality is that that's what they've been so far this year, even without Scadabo. And again, I just don't see Baylor tackling this team. I made it a pick 'em. I did, even on the road. I have about Arizona as well, 2.5-ish point advantage over this Baylor team on a neutral.
Yep.
I just don't think Baylor is very good against the ground game, unfortunately. And so to me, it's pass or ASU here, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's going to be a pass for me and just root the Bears home.
Yep. 361, 362, USC, Michigan State, 17.5, 55 was 14.5, 54. Bunch of sharp moves on the USC side this week. CT, I'll let you start here because I know you're the big USC guy. Any thoughts on this one?
I'm just so mad at myself that I was just so pissed off on Sunday morning from Saturday that I didn't even look at the openers and bother to try and play some. But this is one that I would have played. And I think it opens 13.5 some places too, Dan. You could have got because I would have bet USC. And then, on the way home tonight, it was 17. And now before we go on the show, there were some 18.5s, 19s. Maybe this turns out to be like Arizona State last week, Dan, right? When you and I both bet 14 and 14.5 and it runs up to like 19 and they cover all numbers anyways. But I like what I see about this Southern Cal team. I think it's a team that I've been right on so far, and I know they haven't really played anybody yet, but this is a game where, you go to Purdue, you have to travel across country. You kind of lollygag through the game there. You don't cover. Now you get to go home and play Sparty, another 3-0 team. I think Mayavis is spreading the ball out very, very well, getting a ton of guys involved here. This offense is dangerous. I still think that the defense is improved, and I think it's going to be really tough for Sparty to score. This seems like a 21-plus victory for me for Fight On. So, unfortunately, where the number's at right now, I'm going to hope that there's a little buyback. And if I could get a 17, Dan, is there a 17 out there?
I have not seen one, though.
Yeah. So, hopefully
we're up to 18 and 19 currently right now.
Crazy.
Circa 19, Bet Online 18. Yep.
Yeah, I mean they're probably going to run them out of the building. So do what we will with that. Do what you want with that.
Jules, any thoughts?
No, obviously, it sounds like we missed the best of the number, but nothing really to add.
Okay, let's move over to 365, 366. Arkansas, Memphis is right now currently sitting 7. There is some 7.5 in the market as well. 63 is the total. Open 4.5, guys. Jules, I'll let you start on this one because I know you're the one with the interest in this one. I do have some thoughts in this one as well, but I'll start with you.
Yeah, a little bit of a weird opener, and to see this move so much now that we're getting, I had this spot circled for a little while because this is the look ahead spot to Notre Dame for Arkansas, who was just on the road at Ole Miss. So you have an SEC conference road game. You come up short at Ole Miss going against the backup quarterback. Then you got to go to Memphis for a consecutive road game for a noon ABC kickoff when you return home next week to play Notre Dame at noon at home. The game of the year, Notre Dame's coming to you at Arkansas. They have to have had that spot. That's an exciting one, let's say, when you look at the schedule. I know you play in the SEC, you play all these good schools, but you got Notre Dame coming to you. So then it just boils down to me. What do you think of Memphis? And at 4.5, I said, well, darn, kind of onto this spot. I'm going to leave it alone. I didn't think it would get to a touchdown. Getting a home dog with a touchdown in Memphis, I like this. I like Memphis plus 7.5 is great. We're going to learn a lot about Memphis's defense in this game. The total's getting bet up a lot. Memphis hasn't really played anyone. I regret not betting them last week. Troy was a shrinking home underdog coming off what's really a letdown spot of, oh my God, we might beat Clemson to we didn't beat Clemson and now you got to come home and play Memphis. So bad job by me not getting on that spot a week earlier. But I was focused on Memphis for this week, and I didn't think we'd get a playable number when I saw the 4.5 open. But again, it's Troy. I think Memphis's defense set some punt records last week in terms of punt yards by Troy in a game. Maybe that says more about Troy's kicker, but it means that they were punting a lot. I think if Memphis can hang in there just a little bit on defense and get some of that home energy to break some big plays as they usually do offensively, I absolutely think they're live to steal this game in the look-ahead spot for Arkansas, and I would gladly take the touchdown.
CT, any thoughts on this one?
I got nothing here, partner.
Okay, yeah. So I'm very much with you, Jules. I had this spot circled for a while. I do think the back-to-back road spot still being a bit undervalued for the Power 5 teams, especially on early in the year, Power 4 team, I guess. But regardless, I think this is a very difficult spot. You're in the back-to-back road situation. You're coming off the Ole Miss loss, which was a kind of a heartbreaking loss if you watch that game. You got Notre Dame on, ahead. Now that is obviously going to be a home game for you, so it's a bit easier. But nonetheless, obviously, if you beat Notre Dame, I mean that, and again, I know they're 0-2 Notre Dame, but still, nonetheless, a major win for you. Not an SEC game. Again, I watched the Arkansas State game a decent amount because I am invested on the Arkansas State over, compared to a lot of people who are on the under. Arkansas State moved the ball pretty well against them. It wasn't, obviously, the scoreline doesn't reflect the accuracy of what they did, but moved the ball pretty well. And then last week, look, I just don't think much of this Ole Miss team. And that's an Ole Miss team with a backup quarterback who put up 41 on Arkansas. Again, not saying that Memphis has the best offense in the world, because they're not. I think their explosive play rate is relatively decent comparatively to the rest of the market, and obviously their rush rate has been phenomenal. Their success rate tied just outside the top 35 in rushing. So look, they've been very good in that sense, and we're going to find out exactly how good this rush defense is. My concern is that Arkansas throws the ball all over them defensively, and that is kind of potentially where the game gets away. But that being said, you play some field position here. I like Memphis' special team advantage in this game as well. I think I'm gonna end up getting there on the 7.5 if we see some more 7.5s in market. But yeah, I think I probably will get there. Again, Brandon Lewis, I think playing pretty good quarterback for this Memphis team. Not phenomenal, nothing, but he's been okay. So I agree with you there, Jules. So over to 371, 372. Last college game, we're going to cover Virginia and Stanford. So Stanford gets the outright victory over BC last week.
Unbelievable.
If anyone watched that game, BC was up, I think 11 with about, I think it was like a minute left in the half, maybe even a little bit less. Maybe it was, or a little bit more. Minute left in the half. They're like on like the Stanford 4 or 5 yard line, fumble the ball. Stanford, basically, I can't remember if they returned it for a fumble 6 or whatever the fuck happened. And maybe it was the next play. I think it was Ford who got the touchdown the next play, and then like a monster run. So then they cut the 4 or whatever it was. BC throws the pick 6, and I think they went in the half tied. I think BC kicked a field goal to tie it right before the end of the half. But nonetheless, like a horrendous start, I'm just going to keep saying it. If you are a Bill O'Brien backer, you're gonna keep losing big games and losing in big spots. That again, BC just not a good football team. I bet them last week. I will take the brunt of the blame for even considering them in that spot last week. But this week is again against the team on the road, cross country again on the road. Which again, this is I think Stanford's first time going to Virginia for this game in conference, and the Virginia offense has been, I think, phenomenal. The way they're moving the ball, Chandler Morris looks otherworldly right now. The defense has been very mediocre. And obviously we saw that versus NC State, but if Gabranza gets to start again for Stanford, man, I just don't see it. I think he's arguably the worst quarterback in the Power Four. I think he probably is the worst quarterback in the Power Four, at least he's right there. I think you could also make the case that, the Stanford offense in general has been a run first offense. Don't think that ends up going very well versus Virginia. They play a little stack the box there. I expect this Virginia defense to get a few stops here, continue their torrid scoring pace, and I think this one gets away from them. I made this game a little bit higher, made it 17-ish, and so did end up with a low play on Virginia. Maybe I'll give it out on the podcast. I haven't decided, but not a show play here. But yeah, any thoughts on this game, guys?
First time that these two teams have ever played.
Okay, yeah, there you go. I was gonna say, I think it's the first time that
for a nice conference game.
Kind of wild. I agree with you. It would be Virginia here for me as well. And so, Dan, I'll give you a little stat. Stanford last year in the travel spots where they had to go to Cuse, Clemson, Notre Dame, and NC State, they lost by 31, 42, and 26. So this is a difficult spot for them when they have to travel east. So I think we'll kind of see the Stanford team that we saw the first couple of games this year that we thought we would, see all year long.
Jules, any thoughts?
Those were pretty good teams, at least, though, that they went east to. Like Syracuse was good last year. You said Clemson, Notre Dame. Those are college football playoff teams. So wary of that. But as you guys know, my biggest win total play is Stanford under. And BC killed me last week. I still don't believe Stanford's going to get there, but that was not fun to see. Now we're back to them essentially winning the Hawaii game and getting that one. But I had BC as a winnable one initially. Then you see how they look and you see where that spread goes. And I was like, okay, throw this one out. It's not a winnable one. And lo and behold.
I agree with Caveman. The travel is a big problem. Dan talks about it all the time. That's why I was fucking so mad at him last week that he didn't agree with me. And the only rule that he taught me. Oh, aggravating. I'm just aggravated with myself. And
Yeah.
Same.
No, fair enough. I think it's a totally fair point. Before we head over to the NFL, Jules, go ahead.
Yeah, this special Tuesday editioner of the opener of the Boston Handicappers Network podcast is brought to you by Juice Reel. The world's first transparent betting marketplace is finally here. No more scammers. If you believe you're a winner, simply sync your sportsbook apps and all your plays will be shown. Want to find the best bettors instead? Everyone's bets are ranked and records are proven. You can access those winners' plays through the app and get paid if someone tails your bets. You can also find 1 to 2 exclusive bets from the Boston Handicappers here each week that won't be given out on the podcast. Do not worry, guys. They are free, just like everything is here. Just go download the Juice Reel app and follow the Boston Handicappers Network to get your weekly plays there for free. Juice Reel, where transparency is king.
And we will make sure we tweet that out in the next couple of days. We have not officially gotten the plays in, so I don't think our profile appears for anyone, but that will be something we'll be doing each week. 1 to 2 plays exclusively on Juice Reel. You can't get them on the podcast. You just have to follow the app. It's completely free, as Jules said, so nothing else but just following there. And honestly, a really cool app. I really like the way that they kind of lay it out. Let's move over to the NFL.
I was going to say, once you see that tweet come out from us that we have a play in there, that's when you guys can go in, follow the Boston Handicappers in the Juice Reel app.
That's right. Yeah. So that will be set up for this weekend. We'll make sure we get that up there for everyone as well. Let's move over, guys, to the NFL, and we'll start with. I guess we probably should start with the local game, 463, 464, Steelers and Patriots. Steelers open a dog. And now a small favorite in the game, 43.5 is the total, or 43.5 was the total. I bet the over in this game. So if you're looking for a bet, I'll probably end up giving it on the podcast, but I bet the over in this one. Look, let's simply talk about what happened on Sunday between these two teams here. I think, to be perfectly fair, I think Drake May was borderline perfect in the game. Which again, I think it's hard to expect that you would see a perfect game from Drake May, but he was perfect. 0 turnover with he plays, almost 0.6 EPA per play, an unbelievable EPA. Look at the ADOT again, didn't throw it deep, just again, all the underneath shit, which is where he really has struggled in the past. He took to Josh McDaniels, a 14% CPOE, just a phenomenal game. I think, in my opinion, I had Drake May rated as the number 1 quarterback of week 2, guys. That's where I have him. I had the number 1 quarterback of week 2. I thought he was phenomenal in that game.
I think only 4 plays, right?
But yeah, again, he was phenomenal in that game. Success
whoever
rate was
plays the Dolphins is probably going to be the number 1 rated quarterback in the NFL.
So that kind of leads me to where I'm going here, Jules. I got to take a mea culpa.
Maybe we should bet on the Dolphins again.
I've now bet on the Dolphins twice. I'm now 0-2 on the Dolphins. I think I'm all set betting on the Dolphins. This is arguably, and again, I was higher on them, much higher than the people kind of coming into the year were, and I was wrong, and they were right. The Dolphins are likely headed in the bottom 2 to 3 team direction if they're not already there. The defense outside of the defensive line is horrendous. The secondary is bad, and my big issue here again, guys, is the Patriots called obvious screens and obvious times, and Miami, who talked about going into the week, we got to stop the screen plays. We got to make sure we stop that. Didn't stop the screen plays on a bunch of big games here. Just horrendous. Now, it's very likely the Patriots still lose this game if Devon Achane doesn't step out of bounds.
Yeah.
That's what I think. I think the kind of offense was starting to dwindle a little bit, but Achane steps out of bounds. It doesn't matter. They get the stop, and the Patriots win. All the credit to May in this offense. I thought they were really, really, really good. Phenomenal. Now we go in against Pittsburgh, who is allowing the highest explosive play rate in the NFL defensively. Patriots right now 30th. I think this is going to be a game where you're going to see once again a lot of offense. Aaron Rodgers, I know he struggled a little bit last week, and I didn't love the off-platform stuff. Footwork was kind of a mess at times, but nonetheless, that Pittsburgh offense hums, and that was a very good Seattle defense they played last week. I mean, very good. They also, tore the Jets defense apart, bit by bit. And again, that's a Jets defense that I think is also significantly better than the Patriots defense. I like the over in this game. I definitely like the Pittsburgh Steelers here. If I had to pick a side in this one, it would be Steelers or nothing for me, guys. But I'll stick in. I'll probably stick here and say I like the over probably more than anything in the game. Jules, I'll start with you in this one. Any thoughts?
Yeah, I don't mind the over. Lean Pittsburgh as well, but Pittsburgh's defense has not been that great, and their defensive line, in theory, should give the Patriots' offensive line troubles, which pushes me towards Pittsburgh. But I don't know if I can trust it because the scores are the scores. 32 points by the Jets, 31 by the Seahawks on the road. So I don't know if I can trust the Steelers defense. I know I can't trust the Patriots defense, which again, that puts us towards the over. I'm really mad at myself. Just like the Duke game, that I took a side in this game and took the Dolphins when I was like, I think this is an over bet. And obviously the Patriots and Dolphins skyrocketed over. So maybe we're onto something here. Maybe the right path is just the over here. I know this was a game preseason that probably was projected to be pretty ugly. Totals up to 40.5, but I don't trust either of these defenses, which is I knew about the Patriots. I'm kind of surprised saying that about the Steelers, but the numbers are what they are.
CT?
Yeah. I I agree. Steelers defense is nothing what I thought it was going to be. I thought they were going to be a lot better. But I mean, could this be a little bit of an overreaction? Is that score? I know Seattle was my best bet last week. I know you had them too, Dan.
Yeah.
But that score is a little deceiving there, I think.
It's true.
Caleb Johnson, our guy from Iowa, doesn't make that boneheaded mistake. And I think it's a lot different, end result there. And probably not a blowout like you see 31-17. They kind of mail it in after that happens, and Rodgers starts pouting, and we know how that goes. I'm actually going to this game on Sunday here, and I would trust the Steelers a lot more than I trust the Patriots. I thought the Dolphins were pathetic on Sunday and still should have somehow won that game.
Yeah. No, I agree. And now my big concern for, obviously, if you're a Pittsburgh backer, the defensive line has been horrendous. They got absolutely shredded again last week by Ken Walker. Now, they dominated Zach Charbonnet, worst running back EPA in the league last week. Was Zach Charbonnet, best running back EPA in the week last week was Kenneth Walker. So, I mean, go figure. Who knows? But interesting to see, especially after Stevenson I thought Stevenson was phenomenal last week against the Dolphins. And I thought the offensive line pretty good as well. We'll certainly have to see it again. I make the number a little bit higher for Pittsburgh. I made it around 2.5. I lean Pittsburgh in this game as well. Let's move over to another one, guys. 473, 474 Bears and Cowboys was a pick 'em. 50 was the total. Did open Bears -1. I think we've seen some even more buyback. I think we've seen some stronger buyback here as well. I think Dallas is a small favorite in certain places. I don't really agree with the number. Again, like, this defense got absolutely ripped apart by Russell Wilson. We saw what Wilson did against the Commanders. The Bears have been offensively, and Caleb Williams, painted nails, has been, a bit of an idiot, and he was really bad last week. I think the whole team was really bad last week.
Yeah.
But again, go back to, their opening game versus Minnesota, excuse me. And I thought that was, much more of a comparable type situation there. I thought they were really good in that game. Probably deserved to win that game. JJ had his only good quarter of 8 that he's had so far. And Caleb just couldn't come up with the plays. The turnover worthy plays are just a massive concern for me with Caleb, but it's not like Dallas has been phenomenal defensively. So certainly an interesting one to watch. CT, I'll start with you on this one. Any thoughts?
I thought I was going to like the Bears this weekend, and then kind of watching the game Sunday versus the Lions, and it's just utter disaster for the Bears all around. But yeah, I mean the Dallas defense is concerning, especially when they're going to play another good team. They're just getting absolutely shredded. But then, like, the offense, you come back. I mean, in 2-3 plays, they're in field goal range because Aubrey could hit a 75 freaking yarder. It's just insane. I really thought I was going to get there, and like the Bears, I'm starting to change my tune a little bit here. We kind of know what Dallas does to weaker teams, especially weaker teams that have problems. And I think that the Bears have a lot of problems here. A bunch of injuries on defense too, Dan. So even with the scare, last week versus the Giants, I think that they're going to pick on your painted nails buddy a little bit and shred this defense, and probably the defense for Dallas that will probably end up start making some plays here is this game here versus painted nails, because he makes some dumb mistakes. I'll probably make Dallas defense all of a sudden look somewhat decent.
Jules, over to you. Any thoughts?
Well, the Bears blow. I'm confident in that. Won't find me backing the Bears too often. I don't know if I'm going to back Dallas on the road outdoors after squeaking out the overtime win either. The one thing that I will say is that I gave out Javonte Williams rushing yards last week on this show against the Giants, and he cleared that. He did it in the fourth quarter, I think, but he cleared it relatively easily in regulation before that game went to overtime. Dallas has featured the run a lot more than I thought they would, and I was pretty down, like a lot of people, on their run game. So numbers not out here to my knowledge, but the Bears rank 27th in the NFL against the run through 2 games. They're giving up over $148 a game on the ground. So I might look to get back at Javonte Williams has been like low to mid 50s rushing props. Both Lions running backs went over that last week. Jordan Mason went over that in week 1. So this could be a game where I'm going after Javonte Williams.
Yeah, I just look at the Russell Wilson stuff, guys. It would be Bears or nothing for me. I do not believe in this Dallas team at all. Continuously very nervous about that defense. I don't know how good that Giants team is, and oh boy, they got lit up by Russell Wilson. I mean, it's almost 0.4 EPA per play. Not exactly a calling card for good defense. Let's over to another one, 475, 476. I'll quickly start. Lean Niners here, but I don't have a super strong take on it. I think Niners probably should be the side. I thought they played better than people again expected again last week, but don't love it. Cardinals blew a massive lead to Carolina, continue to be just a terrible second half team, have been for quite a while. CT, any thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I like the Niners here too. I lean Niners. I mean, Dan, that Carolina game versus Arizona last week, I mean, the Panthers, they turned it over in the first two possessions that they had. It was 7-0 before I even turned the game on. And then they somehow come back and cover the game and almost win the game. So that's a little concerning if I'm a Cardinals backer there. And I like what I saw out of Mac. I thought that was, even though it was versus the Saints there and they're pathetic and Rattler's pathetic, I thought that he came in and stepped in for Purdy and played a good enough game there to get the win in the cover. Another win I had last week. Wow. Not used to that. But it's Niners or nothing for me in this one here. I think the Niners keep it rolling here, even going through the injury bug. This is going to be a team that I think we got right, Dan. I think that you start getting pieces back here at a time, and this Niners team is going to be really, really tough if they could get healthy.
Jules, over to you.
Have all 3 of us, because I have, bet the Niners both weeks so far?
Yes.
All right. Yeah. Trend probably continues this week. So both of these teams have the common opponent of going to New Orleans and covering, but it was a game. Saints were a little tougher at home, I think, than we thought. So like on that aspect, maybe they appear sort of even. But I'm just going to, as Dan has all kinds of fancy numbers up on the screen right now. Like eyeball test watching the Cardinals play the Panthers, and they dominated for so long. Like, how do you let them back in that game?
Right back in it.
I just think Arizona is a soft team. That's totally gut call. I know we like getting into EPA and all types of stuff on this show. I'm going like totally gut here. I don't think Arizona is a very tough team. And San Francisco had some bad losses to them last year. One when really dinged up, one that they let go when they probably should have won. Mac Jones was really good, and it was the Saints, but do you think he can't play that well again against the Cardinals at home? I do. So yeah, I'm almost certainly going to get there on the Niners for the 3rd week in a row, probably for all 3 of us. They've been so you could play them on the money line every week so far this season. Maybe not last week's Saints, but when it got down to 3, we laid the 3. I even laid some 2.5. Like they've been such short favorites against lesser competition. I think it's hard not to like them.
Yeah, I'm not sure I'll get there with the Niners. It might just be you two this week, but I lean that way. I would certainly lean that way. It would be the way I go. I do want to talk about the game that I did give out yesterday, 477, 478 Chiefs Giants. Look, Chiefs just aren't as good as people think. They're not. They're obviously they're good. Like Patrick Mahomes is great. I'm sure his game will get better as the year goes on. I do not expect them to possibly play as bad as they played last week. That being said, like they're just they played too many games. I think that's honestly the reality. I think they just played too many games, and it's kind of caught up with them a little bit. Now, the Mahomes A-dot last week is exactly kind of one of the big things. Like, he was terrible accuracy wise, just absolutely horrendous. But again, threw deep, has no problems doing that. And I think that's exactly where you expose the Giants. Like, I think they're not going to be able to throw the way, attack Kansas City the way that they attacked Dallas last week. I think they're going to have a very difficult time running the football. I think that is where Kansas City's strength lies right now, is defending the run. I thought they did a very good job versus Barkley last week. And I do think Mahomes probably cannot play as bad as he did last week. The Chiefs still scored 17 and had not a possibility, but they were somewhat in that game until the end. Okay. They were there.
Chelsea usually catches that ball, and that's a totally different game.
That's
exactly
one catch away from a totally different game.
Yeah. It's no different than Achane being one step away from being a totally different game. Right. It's a game in inches. That's how, that's what it is.
But that's gambling. That's football. So
yeah, 100%. That being said, like, I think this number was a bit of an overreaction. Look ahead going into the year was 8.5. Got down to 5.5, guys. That was the number I gave out yesterday. I think it's up to 6.5 now. I still feel comfortable. Anything 6. 6 minus 110 was probably like fair-ish, maybe 6.5. But I probably wouldn't bet the current number where it is right now. That being said, like, I do think that Kansas City is probably kills them this week, the way that they're trending. This is almost a must-win game for them, which is kind of crazy to think. They start 0-3. I mean, we're talking about real issues for this team. But I just think the way that they can attack New York deep, and the way that New York is going to have very difficult time running the football. And if, again, they get into a passing competition here, you might be able to do that versus Dallas. I don't think you'll be able to do that versus Mahomes and Kansas City. I think that's a terrible way to kind of game plan and strategize and try to win a game, even at home, against this Kansas City team. So I'll take Kansas City laying the points on the road in this one. I think it's a very important game for them. And so I did give it out 5.5 yesterday, guys. Any other thoughts from you guys?
Yeah, really important game, because I actually saw a tweet yesterday. I think only 12% of teams that start 0-2 make the playoffs, and KC back against the wall early, 0-2 here. I got to think that it's going to be tough for the Giants to move the ball with that much ease like they did versus the Cowboys versus Spags' D. They're going to make adjustments here. And, even though on the road here, I agree with your side.
Jules?
Yeah, I'm probably going to have Kansas City tied into a money line parlay or two. I just have a really hard time seeing them start 0-3 with this Giants game on deck. The importance of this game is going to be huge for them. No, they're not the same Chiefs, but I don't think they're going to go down in flames here. This should be a good matchup for them, and the Giants are coming off a big letdown on the road, putting up all those points. The pass rush is going to be a little bit of an issue, but Mahomes has been scampering. Mahomes is the leading rusher, which you could use that as a negative, speak down on the Chiefs. But Mahomes has been making plays with his legs. I think he'll do that against the pass rush when he needs to in this game. I haven't been high on the Giants. That was impressive what they did offensively in Dallas, but you saw what they gave up on the other side of the ball. I have a, very square, but I have a very difficult time seeing Kansas City ultimately lose this game.
Again, I just think the number is incorrect here. Again, and we have talking about no receiver, no tight end, no running back. I just disagree with that. I mean, they have, Kelsey was fine. He had one bad play last week. Yep. They're still able to move the ball pretty well. I mean, they moved the ball relatively well against the Eagles. Like, it's not like that team got demoralized there. All right, final game, guys, before we call it a night. 479, 480, Ravens and Lions. This one opened 4.5, or this one opened 6, now down to 4.5 here. I think a bit of an overreaction. We just saw this Lions team play a divisional opponent that was, in my opinion, arguably bad. We've stopped.
Not arguably, they're bad.
Okay. And they played terribly against Green Bay, who obviously looks phenomenal. And then just played another division opponent and smoked the crap out of them. So again, we're gonna have a bit of an overreaction, at least in my opinion here. Baltimore has looked like I think phenomenal in both games. So I don't know. To me, again, I think this is a bit of an overreaction to what the Lions did. Everyone's expecting to look very similar to what they were last year. I'll believe it when I see it. I think this is going to be a Lions team that's going to be probably a merchant of, bad teams. I think they're probably going to absolutely, demolish some of these bad teams like the Bears. And I think they are going to have real struggles against some of the more quality opponents, and especially the teams that are a bit more physical like the Ravens. So I'm definitely Ravens are nothing for me this week. I haven't gotten there yet, obviously, at this number, but if it dips to 4, I probably have to start seriously considering Baltimore for a bet. Jules, over to you on this one.
I like Baltimore in a blowout. This is probably my favorite NFL spot of the week. I don't trust the Lions at all here. I'm glad that they put up 52 points at home against the Bears last week. That offense loves playing at home. Even, they don't have Ben Johnson anymore. Ben Johnson was on the other sideline. But I don't trust the Lions when they go on the road against quality competition. Looking back at their road games last year, they got wins like a good one at Minnesota. They won at the Niners, but the Niners were decimated at that point. They won at Dallas. Dallas was bad last year. Like, when they do go on the road for these big games, as good as they've been over the years, these spots haven't gone well for them. They did go to Baltimore 2 years ago. They got absolutely smoked. The Ravens, on the other side, play well in these big games against good teams. They just put together 55 excellent minutes against Buffalo and let it completely come undone on the road. I think at home here, I think this is going to look much closer to not that the Ravens defense is as good as the Packers, but much closer to that Packers game in terms of what the Lions are able to accomplish offensively. And I absolutely trust Baltimore to put up some points in this game. So I have some bad numbers on Baltimore. Really like it at 4.5. I think Baltimore rolls here on Monday Night Football.
CT?
Jules, I'm with you. Baltimore has absolutely owned the Lions. They've won the last 5. 4-1 ATS, and the last one, Jules, was when they beat the crap out of them. Similar spot.
That's the one that I'll put like stock in. You're going back 5 games, and that's fine. But like the Lions were good at that point in time 2 years ago, and they got smoked at Baltimore.
Smoked, and I still think the Lions are. I still think they're good compared to what the league is, right, Jules? I think like this
comparatively,
Sunday,
yeah.
Right, like that was a great spot for them, right? You play one of the top 2 teams, top 2 or 3 team in the NFC week 1 versus the Packers, and you get your shit pushed in, and then you get to play Caleb Williams and the Bears at home. No one bounces back better than the Lions off a loss, and that's even with the new coordinators here. This is a spot. I like the Ravens a lot here. I think that the Lions are going to be a public dog. I think there'll be a lot of money coming in on the Lions. That's why we've seen this line tick down here to 4.5 across the board. I think this is a game where Ravens are prepared for, and they actually probably send it home here, similar than a couple of years ago by double digits. I'm with you on the Ravens, and fuck it, I'll give it out. My only play of the show, -4.5 Ravens.
Okay, I'll
put that one in from me as well. That's
okay.
My favorite play of the week.
Double show play from Jules and CT on the Ravens, 4.5. I will not get there. Not yet. May end up there. Certainly lean that direction, but yeah, number I want a 4. I'll be a little bit greedy here. All right, that's it for us tonight, guys. Quick show, not a quick show, hour long. We did a
quick with us.
Yeah, nope. Never quick with us. We always want to talk. We always want to do half an hour. We end up doing fucking double than that, but whatever. All good. So we'll be back. We will record our podcast tomorrow night. We'll be out Thursday afternoon as usual. Again, live show at Stats in Southie, South Boston, Saturday, September 20th, this Saturday, 11 a.m. Sammy P from the Chicken Dinner Podcast will be joining us as well. You know him from a bunch of other things. Of course, everyone knows Sammy P. Come have some Vivas with us. Come watch football with us. Hopefully, we can find a few fucking college football winners. Hope everyone has a great night. Catch you next week on the Monday